Hi everyone, I'm Katie from Give Her Wings. This is part 6 in our series on co-parenting with a wolf. I encourage you to start from the beginning if you've just jumped in here at the end, because up to this point we have been talking about all the challenges that we face when we have to bring up a child and share that child with a wolf. And in video 1 I explained what a wolf is, so go back if you need to. But one of the things that's so important that I haven't touched on yet is the crisis of faith that we are going to have when we are walking this road. Give Her Wings is a ministry, after all. We are not just a domestic abuse charity. We are a ministry. And one of the things that we hear all the time is that, and this tends to happen when we feel our children are under threat and we are depending on a court system to help us. Okay? That is when we start to despair, and that is when we start to lose faith, and that is when that's when things are the worst usually. And even though we know that intellectually this is the world we live in, we can expect that life is not going to be fun and easy. We know to expect these bad things, but that doesn't help us emotionally when we're actually going through it. Okay? Just want to encourage you that in these situations, there are going to be times when rage boils up inside of you. Oh yes, as a mother, absolutely. And sometimes that rage is going to be directed at God. And just want you to know that that's normal. I mean, that's normal. Read the book of Job. I mean, nothing we go through is new, okay? And it is normal. And your fear and your anxiety, your rage at the injustice is justified, okay? It's all justified, but what isn't justified for us, those of us in Christ, are not justified in despair, okay? So if we feel ourselves falling into despair, we may need to go back and revisit the Psalms, for one. David was in despair often, calling out on the name of God. Also, remember that it's not up to you to maintain your faith perfectly through all of these trials, okay? God is the one who sustains us, especially the widow and the fatherless. Repeatedly, he says in his word that he will uphold us. He will execute justice on our behalf. Not the American family court system. God will execute justice on our behalf. There may be times when you're just so angry and so frustrated and you're like, I'm done with this God thing. I'm done. I'm walking away. Okay? And what generally happens to us when we get to the bottom is that we kind of end up coming back because, frankly, there's nowhere else to go. There's nowhere else to go. I was reading Megan's book, Give Her Wings. I just want to put this up here, and I will put a link in the description box below to lulu.com where you can order a copy of her book on help and healing after abuse. But I was reading in her chapter 12 on the crisis of faith that we have, the crisis of trusting in our God, that he loves us and that he's there for us, the horrible crisis we have. Her chapter 12 is really good. On page 85, I was reading this and I saw that she cites Psalm 56, verse 8, where it says that God collects collects our tears in his bottle. And I was remembering a few years back when I was having yet another crisis of faith. I have told my friends in the past that my faith does not move mountains. Okay, my faith is usually dry heaving on the bathroom floor. Okay, that's just reality for me. Maybe you can relate. So a few years back, I remember I was crying on my bathroom floor again, calling out to God, and I remember that verse came to mind. Immediately I had this feeling come over me that God sees all my tears and he's collected them in his bottle, which means, he records your sorrow and he cares about it. Every tear. Okay? There's a bottle up there with your name on it. All right? So he cares. He's there. And it doesn't go unnoticed. He will uphold us. He will execute justice for us. He will show us his mercy and loving kindness. And he came to free the oppressed. God is very, very concerned for you and your children's welfare. And I want to also encourage you with one more thought for today that has helped me in the past as well. And that is Matthew 18, verse 10, where Jesus says about the little children to be careful with how you treat them, because their angels see my Father's face in heaven. And I believe it says they always see the face of my Father in heaven. And I want you to think about that for a minute. Those of you who have been sitting there waiting to get a 10-minute audience with a judge in your county, praying, fearful that the judge may not protect your children, and you're at the mercy of the court. Think on this, ponder that your child has a representative that always sees the judge, sees his face, gets an audience with him, always. And he doesn't have to wait in line, okay? Your child's angels don't have to wait in line, do not have to wait 3 months to get an audience. You have an advocate in Jesus, and your children have a representative who always sees the judge, and the judge cares. And the judge is capable of executing perfect justice, which, our court system is not, because they're only human. So I just want to encourage all of you, don't despair. Do not despair. And we all get what you're going through. And again, if you are facing this and your faith is just, you feel crushed, number one, you can always pick up Megan's book, or I think Megan has some copies for women who can't afford to buy this. Also, on Giver Wings on Facebook, we have a Facebook community where you can also join us there. So I want to just say he's with you, and he's with all of us. And stay tuned. I think we're going to do another series. I'm not sure what's coming next, but whatever it will be, we'll certainly take recommendations if any of you have some ideas for things you'd like to hear us talk about. So thank you for your time, and I hope that this series was helpful for you, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.